What do you got for me?
What's wrong with you people?
I got nothing for you.
What's wrong?
You're not David. How y'all feel this morning? I feel rotten. That's how I feel. Well, that was enough for me. We could have had the benediction right there. That was so good.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to The Reformatory, the podcast for the local church and by the local church, and we are your local churchmen. My name is Josh, and I'm here, as always, with the man that needeth no introduction, but we'll introduce him anyway, the captain, Jack Barry. Jack, it is good to be with you. It's good to be in studio with you. It's good to be doing radio with you. I am exhausted.
Did you preach today?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, I bet.
So, 40-hour work week plus, 40-plus hour work week.
Yep.
Sermon prep, counseling. We did not have an elders meeting this week, but we did have an elders deacons meeting this week. So so that took Wednesday. So I'm pretty beat, dude. I'm pretty tired.
I bet.
But sermon went well, and I love having the opportunity to preach. That's always a joy. Our church seems to be like following suit with the Reformed tradition of growing the church from within. That we have another couple now that is pregnant.
Oh, wow. With twins or triplets or something like that?
I mean, you never know, right? Still too early to tell, but life's good. I'm tired, but happy to be here. How are you? How was your Lord's Day?
Yeah, we went deep into Romans 8 today. We were going in through verses 25 to 27.
Nice.
So it's where Paul kind of follow-ups talking about the sufferings of this world, the groanings that, this world has been subjugated to futility through Adam. So likewise now the Spirit is like groaning in us. What does that mean? Lot of deep, like, this is probably the one of my pastors who preached, this is probably one of his deepest sermons I've heard him go into on like Trinitarian theology, and just us as well too within the Spirit's role in the Christian's life. So very good, very edifying. We had a time too where we followed up with prayer. There's some people that are seeking the Lord, not there yet. Yeah. Definitely seeking. Okay. And I feel like this was another kind of notch in that way to clarify things as far as the faith goes. So, one of my pastors, Josh knows him, Ryan, showed me a ChatGPT generated image. I think you've seen this.
Okay.
You may or may not have seen this. We'll have to do this sometime. It's like you as an action figure.
Oh, interesting.
Dude, they were spot on.
Dude, so
they got Ryan, Ryan got generated as looking like Spurgeon.
Let's go. I see it.
And his accessories were like a leather briefcase, a cigar, obviously. Right. And he was like behind the pulpit as his action figure. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they got everything right except you look like Spurgeon. It's like, did they put that in the pretty much?
So jeez. One of our members, his name's Noah. He has this. It's ChatGPT, is what he said. Okay. But you know how the whole fad on Twitter right now is making yourself look like, it's not like anime, but it's like,
oh yeah, I know.
I don't
pretty
know
much close to it. Yeah.
Right. He did one of me today.
Oh, dude, you got. Oh my gosh, that is so awesome, dude! That is so awesome.
And the thing is, the thing is, like, okay, if you're listening, head over to YouTube, you can see it. That is literally our pulpit. That is literally our carpet. I was literally wearing a black denim jacket today.
Wow.
And like it just took the picture and
That's nuts.
made me look into a little cartoon character. Yeah. It was cool. I thought it was pretty neat.
Josh via Japanese animation.
I mean, I guess so. I guess so. Oh man. Well, Jack, something I wanted to talk to you about today, and this came up in my sermon. So we were in Hebrews chapter 13, starting the final chapter in Hebrews, and I had verses 1 through 6 talking about letting brotherly love continue, and then in the ways that is kind of shown throughout the body. Right. Something I wanted to talk about today, Jack, was the importance of hospitality. And what does that look like?
Yeah.
Right. I think something that I read, and I'm actually going to bring it up. I'm going to bring up my sermon notes here because in my prep, there's a commentary that I use by a guy named Kent Hughes. Really great commentary. I really enjoy it. And he was talking about hospitality and what that looks like, right? And how we don't really have a context here in America for what hospitality looks like in, the modern day church, right? And something that I focused in on the sermon today was how our hospitality needs to be something that's beyond just a platonic we all hang out and socialize, right? I think that's kind of a very Americanized understanding of hospitality.
Yeah.
Right. When in actuality, biblical hospitality, what that looks like is much deeper because it's linked to Christ, right? And Christ's work, obviously, for us, but also in the way that he cares for us, right? And Kent Hughes said this, and I thought it was a really cool quote because what it does is it breaks us out of the kind of 21st century westernized understanding of what hospitality is. Right? Yeah. He said this. He said, places to stay, inns. He said, inns were not congenial or healthy places for Christians. This, coupled with the fact that many Christians had suffered ostracism by both society and family, necessitated Christian hospitality. That, when I read that, it really sparked just this reality, this thought of reality that we in the westernized American church, by and large, don't, I would say, understand the depth and the importance that hospitality is supposed to have within the local church. And I don't know, it got me thinking, obviously questioning why is that? And I've got thoughts there. And then what can we do about it? How can we begin to foster this culture of hospitality that's rooted in something other than just, a social platonic activity? Right.
Yeah.
So I want to throw it over to you first, Jack. Why do you think this biblical understanding of hospitality is something that's somewhat foreign to the American church today?
I would say so. I think modern day, I think maybe back in like the early 1900s, it would have been accepted. And why I say that is because back then you had a large immigrant population coming in. You might have had believers open up their homes to these immigrants to come in after, like, they did. I mean, I'm fairly certain some of my great times 3 grandmothers or grandfathers went through Ellis Island.
Yeah.
And it depended really on if you had any diseases, if you had to be quarantined, or if you were, if you already had done your legwork to a certain extent, you could basically flash some documents and just land in America and like, okay, like, here you go. So I want to say that we've lost that because a lot of our rhetoric lately has been on focusing on our country and our country peoples. So I think so it's hard for us to think about an outsider in a certain sense. I think our church, my local church, really has experienced this, at least to the level in which when Kabul and Afghanistan fell, because we were interacting with a all Afghan church that basically left. We were talking to people that got rides out. One of the guys that we still have who attends our church today, I just talked to him today, had a very traumatic rescue out of there, and is a Christian. And we tried to actually get somebody he knew from another country before the Trump administration came in power, but those efforts have kind of gone by the wayside as far as immigration goes. But we were fully ready to like house him no matter what.
Sure.
And this guy's like, I don't care if I have to house him. Like, I'll do it. Like, I know this guy. He's basically, he could be my brother, even though he isn't. But I care for him so much that I want the best for him. And I just don't think that we have that. I don't think it's built within us in this culture to have that sacrificial way of hospitality. Like, you would do anything to basically get this person housed in your house. I don't think that's deep within us. I think what's rooted in us is our immediate family and people that we've already, quote unquote, trusted if something bad happens to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, my family's just dealt with it a lot. I know my wife's family has, especially too, with a lot of people coming over from Ukraine when the war started as well too, and housing them and being hospitable to them. And so I think part of that is just like, I think our culture does not build us into a very hospitable environment to begin with. And so you kind of have to retrain yourself when you come into the church and what we're talking about now when it comes to hospitality. And just how you would go about that. And I think some people are saying like, well, what is then hospitality? Because I'm talking about specific hospitality, which is letting people stay in your home if they're homeless and they're brothers and sisters in Christ. So that is a specific form of hospitality, but I don't know if you're thinking of something else as well too for the listener.
I'm just thinking of the understanding of the biblical understanding of hospitality in general, right? And I'm getting what sparked it is for me is verse 2 of Hebrews 13, where it says, "Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares," right? And the funny thing with that verse is everyone wants to focus on the entertaining angels unawares part, right?
I feel like for the author of Hebrews, I know where he's going with that. I think he might be going to Abraham.
100%.
Where Abraham,
it's Abraham and Lot.
Yeah,
it's both of them. It's Abraham being visited by the strangers, them telling him, "Your wife is going to bear a child." She laughs. They get in trouble, right? And then Lot in Genesis. That's Genesis 18. Genesis 19 is Lot being visited by those same strangers in Sodom. Right. And then obviously the crazy shenanigans that goes on there. Boy. Right. Genesis 19 is wild. Okay. But it's this, but so much focus ends up wanting to be put on the second half of the verse. And I don't think the author meant for that to happen, right? We often take this verse and like, oh, I'm in my own episode of Touched by an Angel. This is Highway to Heaven with Michael Landon. Like, I should be looking for angels
throwback,
right?
It's big time throwback,
dude. Okay, I gotta tell you,
cuts.
I made that joke in the sermon today. And like 5 people laughed, and they were all over 50. They were all over 50. I dated myself with the Highway to Heaven joke, dude.
Oh yeah,
and I'm not old. Right.
No.
But I
got that reference, but my parents are old. So
100%. But I was raised on all the old movies and TV shows. Like if it was before 1960, dude, I can go toe to toe with the average 80-year-old person when it comes to films from their era. And yeah, so Highway. I made the joke. They everyone over 50 cracked a smile, and I was like, yeah, wrong demographic. But anyway, everyone wants to focus on that, right? And focus on I should be looking out for angels. When Paul, that's not, again, sorry, Freudian slip. I think Paul wrote Hebrews. The preacher, the author of Hebrews, that's not his focus. That's not what he's pointing to. He's utilizing that as an example to show people, look, you are called to have hospitality, to have a heart of hospitality towards strangers, because that is the heart of Christ. Christ had a heart for the stranger, for the outcast, right? We are all living testimony of that while we were still sinners, strangers, Christ died for us, right? He showed us his heart, right? So this understanding of having hospitality within the local church, I think, is something that we need to recapture as a people and realize, okay, hospitality within the local church is so much more than just hanging out together, right? It's so much more than simply opening your home, although that's a big part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The motives and the reasons for why you do that is at the heart of hospitality, right? If we want to show the heart of Christ to our brothers and sisters in Christ, right? So how we show hospitality should be akin to how Christ has shown his love toward us, right? And it goes, like I said, it goes beyond just the platonic relationships that we just hang out and we have a good time. We're in each other's lives. We're seeking to know and to be known. We're in community. We have accountability with one another. When an individual in the local church has a need, whether that be physical, right, financial, we're coming alongside that person, right? I mean, it's almost like, what you brought up, I think, was so good, is there just seems to be this hyper focus in the church today on I don't want to say the church. It's online. It's primarily in a fake place. It's on it's on social media where these yahoos are out there saying, well, if they're not American Christians, then then they're less family to me than the American. That's just bull. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's just not true, right? And we've talked about that. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Right. But it's having a general love for your brothers and sisters in Christ that are united to you through the blood of Christ. And our hospitality should be something that's born out of just not a relationship, but out of the heart of Christ that he has already given to us.
Yeah. Even to how this might come up is really people who, I've had this happen a couple times. Everybody probably has seen this where people are showing up to your local church. They may not be Christians at all. The way in which you are hospitable to them in that setting, I think, is just like spring training to what you should be dealing with on like a weekly basis, hopefully. I mean, my wife and I open up our home to our community group. And so that's a way in which we're hospitable to our brothers and sisters in Christ. I've had people who are not Christians who I've hosted other men's groups before I was married, and it was very interesting because guys just did not have. I think I remember one guy in my community group. He invited this other guy. Both their wives knew each other from like photography stuff, and he just did not have a base. He had a religious upbringing, but I wouldn't say there was any gospel that was preached to him or really stuck. But at least the hospitability or the hospitability. My tongue is so tied with this with this word, but the hospitable thing that I was doing is saying like, hey, this is an environment where you can learn glean from other Christians about what is the gospel really.
Mhm.
And I think you do that in your local church. Hopefully, I mean, depends. Sometimes your Lord's days could be just mostly Christians, which honestly, Josh and I would say, okay, well, that's the purpose of the local church, is for the Christian. I would say another way that you show being hospitable in your local church is if you get visitors who are not believers, and how you treat them. And it is very akin. I'm not going to say it's a 1-for-1 match, but it's basically like what happens when the stranger comes into the camp of Israel. There's laws around that. There's people seeking out things. It's also kind of what Jesus is saying about the Good Samaritan and seeing people, destitute on the side of a road. I mean, I don't think physically that's happening when people are showing up to church, but in their soul, they're wounded.
Yeah.
And they're waiting for somebody
Yeah.
for them. And honestly, in North America right now, and even the West, I think more people are wanting to figure out if they can trust Christians or not.
Sure.
It's not so much they want to hear the gospel. It's, can I trust this person who calls themselves a Christian and being somewhat vulnerable and telling them my story and them being hospitable to me in some sort of way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's one part of it too. I think trust, there's an essence of being hospitable in trust in and of itself.
Yeah.
When somebody who's seeking after Jesus or just seeking after the things of God and needs some assistance alongside the road there spiritually, that's kind of an opportunity for you. Maybe on a Lord's Day that happens, maybe not. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great point. Biblical hospitality creates a place of refuge, right? It does. It creates a safe place that people know that they can come to and receive the truth of the gospel and the comfort that comes from that, right? And that's why it's not just this understanding that, we're just hanging out and having a good time. Look, and not that that's not part of it, right? Some of the sweetest times of fellowship is when we are just with each other, right? And we're just, hanging out, having a good time, laughing, enjoying some good food, good drink. That is, you need that. You need that in the local church, right? But if that is the sum and total of what hospitality is to you, you're missing out on such a deep, rich culture that can that your local church can tap into, right? Like, biblical hospitality is, I mean, it does so much when we understand it in the context of who Christ is and the love that he has given to us, right? Right. It's something that flies in the face of this very individualized culture that we live in, and it promotes selflessness.
Yeah.
Right. Because the hospitable heart is going to be a heart that seeks for the good of others. It's going to be a heart that is self-sacrificial. Right. It's going to find ways to put others before themselves. Right. And they do it with joy. Right. They don't do it with a heart that grumbles. Right. I think that's First Peter. Isn't that right? First Peter 4. Yeah. First Peter 4:9. Show hospitality to one another without grumbling. Right. It's a heart that does it out of joy and out of desire to show the love to their brothers and sisters that Christ has shown to them. Right. And when we get hospitality correct, it really does ultimately show the love of Christ to our brothers and sisters, create a place where there can be healing and there can be safety, and creates in us, and by and large, our local church, a culture of selflessness, because everyone is seeking the good of the other person and seeking to utilize the gifts and the resources that God has given them to uplift, encourage, and support their brothers and sisters in the local church. That's what hospitality is. It's not simply just hanging out. Although that's a big part of it.
Yeah, sometimes we get caught up too in thinking like hospitality. I think in our minds we just go straight to like food and beverage,
Sure. Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's not necessarily. I mean, that's part of it.
Oh, absolutely, it is. Yeah.
I mean, even
Yeah.
in the ancient world, like food was a big part of hospitality.
Gotta have people over for dinner, man. That's what we
yeah.
do. Yeah.
Um,
We're Baptist. We love eating, man. If food ain't involved, I mean, it's like it's like the banker in Christmas Carol. Like, unless there's lunch, I'm not going to the funeral. Right? That's another deep cut. Only the old. Only the old.
Wow.
I keep. Yeah. Never mind.
Wow.
Yeah. Continue though. You were about to say something smart. Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, even in like the ancient Near East, like a lot of like conversations, you see a lot of conversations happening over food and drink.
Yeah.
You see a lot of things happen in the Bible
Mhm.
and hospitality happening over food and drink, happening over meals.
Mhm.
I mean, shoot, even when, we use the phrase breaking bread,
Right.
that term is used primarily for communion
Mhm.
when the ancient church did it in a actually a dinner setting.
Yeah.
Versus maybe what we're accustomed to here, but still it's the same concept.
Yeah. And then the Italians still it. Come
man.
break bread with me. Come break bread with me.
So yeah, I think we just get it stuck in our heads.
Yeah. We do.
Visually that it's just about food and drink.
Yeah.
It's just about that versus maybe like you're trying to create stability or some sort of stability in a person's life through possibly the use of your home.
Yeah.
Through the use of your presence, the use of the faith, to be quite honest, to bring some stability, to bring some chaos, or to bring some order into chaos, excuse me.
Yeah.
Because that's what God's there to do. We're going through Genesis right now. And honestly, like that's the whole book.
Mhm.
In one, I mean, he brings order to chaos in the start through the cosmos. And he's doing that even when people are bringing chaos to him.
Right.
Like he's bringing order to that chaos. And even Joseph is saying that too, towards the end of the book, he's like, what you meant for evil. So what you meant for chaos, God meant for good or order. So you're trying to be, you're trying to bring some order into some person's chaos in their life right now. And hopefully that's done through how can I say, a genuine kind of desire versus more like I want to perform or I want to be seen some way,
Right.
or something along those lines. So, but I think now, kind of, I don't know about more than ever, but I'm starting to see more and more people have more and more needs come up financially here and there. I don't know if my wife will ever be in a place, and we've talked about this too. I think being hospitable too even starts to change your own desires and your family. Yeah. I know. Yeah. So my wife comes from a Slavic culture that would have their parents come into, I think, the older son's house to live with them. Way more Eastern versus I grew up and it's like, no, you're living in your own house. You're doing your own thing. You can go into an old person's home, stuff like that. But my heart's really changing away towards that because I've seen the benefits of, grandparents being around my son and stuff like that and living with them. And so, yeah, I mean, sometimes it could come down to that. I know other people who have done that as well too, or even built space in order that their parents could come live with them when they were not able to like go into a nursing home or anything like that. So yeah, I think it's starting to be less, it's starting to challenge your own selfish desires.
Yeah. Right.
Which is, which is mainly in the United States. This is my property. Yeah. This is my kingdom. This is my little slice. This is my little American dream. I can do whatever I want with it. Yeah. But really, like the gospel's telling you, no, you can't. Like you have to be hospitable. Yeah. In a way that shows that like you really are a follower of Jesus, and doing that sometimes changes the dynamic in which you live out your life with your property and your
Yeah.
housing and everything like that. So
Yeah. It's viewing everything that God has given you primarily through the lens of how can I use this for the good of His people.
or even just like a simple thing. Like,
Yeah.
I know I've lent out my mini chainsaw
Yeah, there you go.
to a member of our local church,
Yeah.
and I haven't asked him back for it.
Yeah.
And anytime,
You
and
might
it's,
never get it back. So.
I probably will because I see him every Sunday, and
Oh,
I
that's
know
true,
him.
that's true,
So
that's true.
and I got him on text, so I can
Yeah.
probably say like, "Hey, where's
Yeah.
my stuff at?" But really, it's
Yeah.
like it's a posture in which,
It's just a heart of generosity.
yeah, exactly.
That's what it is, right? It's like seeing the things that you have and not hoarding them, not
Yeah.
being selfish, right? Just being like, yeah, this is
And
I can use this for good.
And deep down too, you could make the argument. I don't know if this is actual text for text basis,
Okay.
but you can make the argument that that starts to challenge your idolatry.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you look at it,
Oh yeah, absolutely it does.
I mean, Jesus is encountering the rich young ruler, and he's encountering it in a way, he's encountering his idols.
Yeah.
So is Jesus going to pacify his idols, or is Jesus going to say, no, you need to give those up and follow after God?
Yeah.
I think that's and sometimes we can spiritualize the text so much where it could be like, you just need to sell all your things and be with Jesus. It's like, no, you need to do inventory of your own idols in your life and figure out, okay, this is not good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that follows the path of like the beginning of Hebrews that I preached, right? He talks about brotherly love. And then he says, don't neglect to show hospitality, right? Don't be selfish. And then he gets into, don't screw your marriage up and don't love money, right? Be content with what you have, right? They're all linked together, right? And yeah, it's just biblical hospitality is so important and by and large very foreign to us, and it's something that we should really strive to get back. A great resource that I know a lot of people that have enjoyed this book is a book called "The Gospel Comes with a House Key."
Oh yeah,
by Rosaria Butterfield. Now, the understanding when you read this book is that the expectation is that you do not go as radical as this woman does with her hospitality. This woman literally has an open door policy to anyone, and yeah. So obviously the Lord is going to place limitations on different people in different times, right? But it's a great book to stir the heart for a desire and a love for hospitality, even though you might not do it exactly the way she does. That's not the expectation. But we should have hearts that seek to be hospitable to our brothers and sisters in Christ. And that book, The Gospel Comes with a House Key by Rosaria Butterfield, it's on Amazon hardcover for $12, less than $12. Great deal. I've heard, it's a great book. And it's a good resource, especially when talking about this understanding of hospitality. So yeah. Jack, why don't we be hospitable to our listeners and not keep them longer than we must? And why don't you get us out of here, my friend?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you appreciate Josh and I's attempts at making the local church central into your quest, I don't know about quest. Can I say quest? Into your endeavors of being hospitable.
I like quest, but yeah, maybe we'll save quest for something else.
I feel like quest is more of a medieval thing.
That's quest. I'm on a quest.
Yeah, that's more Pilgrim's Progress language, I guess. But we do use a lot of Pilgrim's Progress language on this podcast. So.
Indeed.
Anyways, if you appreciate our ramblings, our kind of thought-provoking questions about how to be hospitable, and you have some more questions about that, or questions about episode ideas, questions for us, comments, concerns, whatnot, you can find us on the sociables, if you will. The Metaverse, the Facebook, the Instagram, goes well with chocolate marshmallow, or sociable, formerly known as Twitter X, if you will, all at the tag @Reformatory Pod. Josh, you can tell the lovely people how they might support us and on other platforms, if you will.
That's right. If you would like to watch this episode as well as listen to it, you can head on over to YouTube and look for the Reformatory Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell for notifications, as the kids say. If you're on Apple or Spotify, give us a like, give us a rating. We would really appreciate it. That would be really, really cool. Helps get the podcast out to more people. Link in the description of this episode, of every episode, is a link to our Amazon store. Shirts, merch, all that stuff. And you'll notice that we got a snazzy new upgrade to our sociables and to our podcast. Looking pretty good. Those are going to make some snazzy shirts. Just saying. So this might be your last time to get a retro reformatory logo t-shirt.
Retro.
You better go get it now because new things are going to be updated. Last but not least, we have a Patreon. For $5 a month, you get bonus eps. I've got a piece of audio.
Oh boy.
That was sent into us. That was edited.
Oh,
God. It's something, something that has to do with the Reformatory. That has been heavily edited. And we are going to listen to it on the Podluck. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, when I heard this, I almost passed out from laughing so hard. I'm not even kidding. I had to pause what I was listening to because I was hyperventilating. If you want to know what we're talking about, you're going to have to head on over to the Podluck for $5 a month. If you choose to support the Reformatory with that very menial, very small amount, if you choose to be hospitable to us and support us in that way, our pledge to you is that your name shall be hallowed.
Hallowed, sir. Hallowed.
Hallowed through the halls of the podcast. That is our pledge to you. We thank you all for listening. Go and be hospitable to one another. Love one another like Christ loved you. We will catch you on the next step of the Reformatory.